I'm joined by the Guardian's Ian Black, who has arrived in Damascus. Ian, first, can you tell us about the journey there?
It's a very interesting journey to come to Damascus by road from Beirut. Is to go from one world into another. The border crossing is relatively straightforward. Obviously, everybody in, especially journalists, perhaps need to have the right paperwork, the visas, and so on. Once you get onto the Syrian side, it's reasonably normal. Though what you do notice is that there are a lot of checkpoints on the road. I counted 8 or 9 between the border crossing and the outskirts of Damascus. Checks of baggage, taxi driver asked to open the boot, little search, and ID, but fairly relaxed apart from that. It's only when you get close to Damascus you start to see signs of what's going on in Syria. One thought before I leave the border area was that there was a long tail of long queue of big trucks that were backed up at the border crossing. Apparently, they would normally be going into Syria and going south to Jordan and perhaps onto the Gulf. And in the Deraa area, that's the biggest town in southern Syria, there's been quite heavy fighting for the last few weeks. So the backlog of those trucks is, of course, a sign that it is being restricted and there is a wider effect to the war. In Damascus itself, there is a constant backdrop. Every few minutes, there is the sound of explosions. It sounds mostly like outgoing artillery. It's probably being used against rebel-held areas in the north of Damascus, what's called the Damascus countryside. The city itself is quiet. It's a Friday, so the streets are unusually deserted. It's a holiday, and the atmosphere is very subdued. And there is this bizarre thing, I have to say, of a backdrop of hearing explosions all the time. Apparently, the large column of smoke that I saw on entering Damascus, I think it was, I can identify that as a place called El Sbaini, again, south of the capital, where there are reports of, quite a lot of reports coming in now about what appears to have been an airstrike. I don't know what the target was, but it's certainly a striking introduction to the city to come here. So over a year since I've been able to get into Syria to see how close the war is coming to this ancient capital.
And the narrative has long been for months now that, you know, the rebels are edging closer to the centre of Damascus, that they're, you know, preparing for a final assault, that they're closing in. I mean, is there any sense of that where you are?
Well, I think what there's a sense of is that you can hear all the time, as I'm speaking to you, in the background, not very far away, maybe just a few miles, you can hear the boom of what I think is outgoing artillery or perhaps missiles. And my understanding of the military situation is that those are government forces targeting rebel targets in that region, largely in an arc across the north of Damascus. But I can't say that I've seen any of that personally, but I can hear it very clearly from not too very far away.